recording button. There we go. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you again for joining us for tonight's financial aid overview. As Tanya said, we're here tonight to go over what we believe is one of the most important parts of your students' admission process, and that is how to apply for federal financial aid, as well as talking about your opportunities and options for merit-based aid. So tonight we're going to talk about multiple things. We're going to talk about what is financial aid. So in the big picture, what does it mean when we use that term financial aid? Some of what we're going to talk about this evening is not just unique to Regis. It really is information that you can carry with you throughout your college search process, and we hope that's really helpful. So we're going to talk about how you apply for financial aid, the different types of financial aid, some of those frequently asked questions that we get in our offices that we hope we can help, again, demystify this process and make it really accessible to you. We're also going to talk about how we communicate with families and our students about their financial aid. And then we're going to open it up to some questions and answers. And as mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. We'll be monitoring that this evening. You can direct those at me. We would ask that if you have a question that's very unique and specific to your individual file, that you reach out to a member of the financial aid team. And at the end of tonight's presentation, we will be giving you our contact information. Everybody's case is different, and we want to make sure we give you the right information that is specific to your situation. So if we do mention that, that's why. But we'll be talking about some of those really big picture ideas that are important and helpful to understand. So let's start with, here we go. What is financial aid, right? It is extremely important, extremely special, and something that we really value here at Regis. We're an institution that's really proud of making our education accessible. 100% of our incoming freshmen this past year, as well as the year prior, received some type of support in continuing their education, whether that was merit-based scholarships, need-based scholarships, or a combination of the two. At Regis College, at the undergraduate level, we offer two predominant types of financial aid: merit scholarships and need-based. And we're going to talk about how you apply for those and exactly the different types of those aid. In addition, we have other types of scholarships and grants here at Regis that you'll hear us mention: residential grants, outside scholarships. So if your student is maybe really involved in a local club or organization and they have scholarship opportunities, those are those outside scholarships. Specialty scholarships: Regis College has a series of additional scholarships that we provide to students who are eligible, and those are outlined on our scholarships webpage, regiscollege.edu/scholarships. Those are things like the Presidential Catholic Scholarship Award, the Regis Diverse Educators, the Sloan School of Business Scholarship, and the Fung Scholarship. And then military benefits. Regis is a military-friendly institution. We're really proud to connect our support to our military-connected learner. And so if you are eligible for military benefits, whether that's GI 33, 35, post 9/11, we can work with you about applying those to your educational financing. And then finally, always like to remind everybody, Regis is exceptionally proud that we have 20 varsity athletic teams here at Regis at the Division III level. But as a Division III school within the NCAA, that does mean that Regis does not offer athletic scholarships of any kind. And we really like to make that very clear early on in the process that while 33% of our students are student athlete scholars at Regis, we do not provide athletic scholarshiping. So merit scholarships. This is what I like to call, and Tanya's heard me say this, like to call the foundation of your financial aid award letter. So when a student applies to Regis, and if a student is offered admission, with that admission letter will be a merit scholarship. And that scholarship will include the value of it, the value over 4 years, and what some of those requirements are to maintain it. The beautiful thing about the merit scholarship is that it's non-need based. So if there's any shift in your financial profile during your time at Regis, that merit scholarship remains intact. And this is based on the good work of your students or of yourself during your time in high school. And so when you apply to Regis, we look at your admission package and we look at your application and we look at your recalculated weighted GPA, and we make a determination for your merit award based on that information. What's really important to keep in mind is that Regis is SAT optional. We do not use the SAT in any of our assessment for your merit-based scholarship. That's really important. We know a lot of students are struggling with finding SAT or ACT testing centers right now in light of COVID. And we just want to reassure you that don't worry if you can't take the SAT or ACT. It's not part of your application process, but it's also not used in any way for your admission merit scholarship process. So that's that beautiful foundation to your financial aid award package. You don't need to do anything additional other than apply to the institution to be considered for one of our generous merit scholarships. Now, need-based awards are the walls of your home. So we have your foundation, your merit scholarship, and now these important walls are going to hold up the structure of the rest of your house. And I'm going to turn it over to Tanya to talk about how you would apply for need-based awards.
Yes. So it is FAFSA season. October 1st officially opened up the application process. So in order to qualify for need-based financial aid awards, you have to complete the FAFSA every year. Need-based awards are the amount that your family qualifies based on income, based on your assets, based on how many in your household are in college, and just how many of you live in your household, period. And some of the need-based awards you may have heard of before, such as the Pell Grant, such as the Federal Supplemental Educational and Opportunities Grant, Federal Work Study, and the Subsidized Loan. Those all belong to the need-based grants package. And what Regis would do is we would couple the need-based aid along with the merit institutional funding that Laura mentioned, and put it all together in a lovely package and present it to you as a family. So the FAFSA, as we mentioned here, is managed by the Department of Ed. You have to apply for this every year, as your income and status could change on a yearly basis. And financial aid wants the opportunity to review it and give you the best package possible. Please be sure that you will enter your social security number on the FAFSA every year. However, it is a very key important ingredient when you're completing the Common App. We understand some families overlook this piece, or just to be safe, they feel they do not enter the social security number. However, without the social security number on your Common application, your FAFSA will not connect with your acceptance record in our systems. So if there's any questions or concern about the privacy and confidentiality of this number, you can feel free to call our financial aid office or any school's financial aid office and provide the social security number by phone. So the FAFSA over the past few years, they have simplified the process for completing the application. It went from pages long on paper to now just being about a 20 to 30 minute application process. Before you start, you'll want to make sure that you have a federal student ID for both yourself as a parent and for your student. The federal student ID and password serve as your electronic signature to completing the FAFSA. Something else that will make it very easy for you is to transfer your income tax information directly from the IRS directly into your FAFSA form. It makes things a lot easier. Gone are the days where you have to have your 1040 form in front of you and plug the information in back and forth. However, the IRS data retrieval tool, that's what this is called, transferring the information, is not available for all families. And we do understand some circumstances may require you to request what's called an IRS tax return transcript if you're unable to use the data retrieval tool. And that could take a little bit longer, but it still serves the same purpose and it gets the job done. Okay. So once you complete your FAFSA, please know that it does take approximately 3 to 5 business days to reach the school. Actually, sometimes longer, and especially with the pandemic, we've been seeing some longer reach times. So please provide yourself plenty of time to complete the FAFSA so that it can get to your school of choice. And we're hoping that's Regis, of course. Once you complete your FAFSA, you will receive a form called a Student Acknowledgement Report, a Student Aid Report. That form will let you know if you're selected for a process called verification. The government selects about 30% of its students every year for us to verify that the information that you reported on your FAFSA is true and accurate. And sometimes if there's any delay with acknowledging the student aid report and submitting the documents to the financial aid office after they've requested it, it can delay receiving your financial aid award. So some of the things that can delay those options are missing or incomplete information on your FAFSA. Selected for verification, our office will send you a missing information letter. Try to submit the items requested in 2 weeks time frame, and no social security number provided on the common application, as we mentioned earlier. Can I appeal? This is a very popular question this year. Go
Sorry
ahead.
about
So,
that,
yeah.
Tanya.
Okay.
My computer's acting a little up. So we'd like to start off with some frequently asked questions.
Yes.
These are things that we hear often from families. So we want to always kind of front load with these questions, because if we hear them often, it means that chances are our next round of members of the Pride may also have them. So let's see if my screen cooperates. There we go. So the first question, Tanya, that we often get is, I got my financial aid package from Regis, but there's been a change in my family's profile, or something's happened. We are in the middle of a pandemic. Can I appeal? Can I make a request for more funding?
Absolutely. And especially given the circumstances this year, we've seen a lot of appeals in financial aid offices for additional funding, or based on job loss, based on medical issues that health insurance was not able to cover. The FAFSA is not able to capture every single circumstance of your family's life and dynamic. That's why if something does change after your financial aid award has been received, we would like to know about it so that we can assist you. You submit appeal to our office, letting us know what those circumstances are, how much funds, how much you need that could be helpful to help you pay your tuition bill. And we will take the time, we'll take at least up to 2 weeks time to review it and see if there's anything that we can do for you. It is not guaranteed. However, we do our best to accommodate families that are truly in need and can use our assistance.
Thank you, Tanya.
And as you can see on the screen, here are some of the other reasons that you may see for an appeal.
So students may notice when they receive their entire package from Regis College that they may have something called federal work study on their financial aid award. And on this screen is one of the former work study students in our office, who is a tour guide, which is an institutional position on campus. So for our students who have federal work study, Tanya, what is that? How does it work? How do students find jobs? Help us understand this a little more.
Oh, sure. So federal work study is a very popular employment program on our campus. It is also, as I mentioned earlier, a need-based program. So as long as you qualify for work study, we have positions that you can work from, our students can. This semester, provided the COVID-19 pandemic, for the fall semester, all of our positions were remote. So we were able to make it work for students who still wanted to participate and still wanted to earn income, so that they were able to work from their homes. In the spring, we hope that there will be more opportunities for both remote and to be opportunities for them to socially distance but work on campus. Work study is not funds that are deducted from your tuition bill. However, it does provide you an opportunity to earn general expense money that you could use to provide, pay for books, wash your laundry, go to a movie from time to time, put some gas in your car, just little things like that. And for a lot of our students, it's their first real experience at working a job. So we take it very seriously. Our students are required to interview. They're required to come with a resume, as simple as it could be, nothing too difficult, but it's just an experience that we want them to experience on our campus.
Thank you, Tanya. And as referenced, there's also those institutional positions on campus that get posted around that same time. So for students who may not have federal work study, there's a wonderful array of really, rich and robust jobs on campus, whether it's working as a tutor in our academic center, working as a Pride guide in admissions, working as a lifeguard, working for bookstore. So lots of great opportunities. And as Tanya mentioned, all of our students who apply need to complete a resume. That really is that first step in scaffolding their experience at Regis. 100% of our undergrads do some type of internship or clinical placement during their undergraduate study. And we really see work study as an extension of that. How do we create translatable skills so that when our students graduate, they're graduating with a robust transcript and academic experience, as well as a robust co-curricular experience that makes them really appealing to their future employer. So this is a question that I receive a lot, especially when we get to orientation time and our new class is starting. And it's, hey, I noticed on my bill, there's mandatory health insurance. What's the deal? I have health insurance. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts requires that all full-time college students carry some proof of health insurance. So that is a state law here in the Commonwealth. And to ensure that all of our students are in compliance with state law, they're automatically billed for our institutional health insurance. So you will see that on your bill. You'll see that health insurance charge. We don't hide it. We try to be very forthright about it. You'll see it in the financing guide that comes with your financial aid award letter. These things are mentioned. But also what Regis does is we provide an opportunity for you to waive our institutional health insurance, and that's done through a third-party insurance company. And you would submit documentation of your own coverage, whether that's a private coverage or a public option. And then if that was waived and approved by that insurance carrier, your institutional charge would be taken off of your tuition account. We send students reminders about this. We make sure to communicate the process during your orientation experience and beyond. But we do like people to know what that charge is about. You'll see that at most institutions in some capacity, but especially in Massachusetts, all of us somewhere have this health insurance clause. So we just like to make sure you know about that. We communicate those deadlines throughout your onboarding process as well. So some final tips. As you know, you're going through the process, it's really important to know that your communication from our financial aid team is going to go predominantly through the student and the student's email on file. So we notice on the admission end, a lot of students use their high school email address as their email on their Common App, and that's totally fine. But do keep in mind, there will be a point where the student's no longer checking that email account, or we have noticed an increase in K through 12 schools heightening their firewalls as we deal with or work through rather hybrid and remote learning structures, because they're really trying to keep the external noise down as students focus on their schoolwork. So if your student does use their local high school email address, which is fine, really encourage them to keep an eye out for emails coming from Regis, but also to check their spam or their filters. Or if you're worried about it, have the student give admission a call and we can update the email address to a Gmail or Yahoo or AOL or Hotmail account. That's not an endorsement for a particular server, but certainly let us know, because we want to make sure you're getting the information. In that same vein, you will also get hard copy mail from our department. The exciting You've Been Admitted packages come through US mail, and your financial aid award letters come through US mail. You are probably noticing you get a lot of mail from higher ed institutions right now as your student goes through their search. But it's important that you keep a look for it and go through it as it comes through, because some of that mail you may think it's, oh, here's another piece, here's another view book, but in fact, it is really exciting news or really important information about your financial aid award letter, whether that's the actual package or that missing information letter that Tanya alluded to earlier. Your social security number, that is the thumbprint that matches your student's Regis profile with the federal FAFSA profile. If you or your student opted to leave that social security number blank on the Common App, please give a call over to financial aid directly. That number is on the screen here. Please do not try to email that or leave that on a voicemail. That is sensitive information, and we want to make sure it is only transferred to individuals who need access to it. If your student did put their social security number on the Common App, please be assured that that information is protected and not visible to most individuals, but truly is used strictly for a financial aid purpose. And then of course, Tanya and her amazing team of financial aid officers are available. The world may be in a remote place in a lot of ways, but one thing that hasn't changed is Regis's ongoing commitment to student service, and we are available to you. So whether we are sitting at our homes or in our offices, just know that we are absolutely available to answer your questions. Which then leads me to, and Tanya, this is where I say gear up, because the questions are often coming right towards you, and I already have one in my chat box. We have the opportunity for you to ask questions. Again, please feel free to use the chat box. We're keeping an eye on it. My name is Laura. You can send it directly to me or use the general function. But the first question, Tanya, and I always love this question. My student has said they want to study abroad. Can we use financial aid to study abroad?
100%. Yes, you can. The only financial aid that does not transfer over with your student when they study abroad, whether it be Italy or Ireland or somewhere else, is their Regis grant, which is their resident grant, excuse me, which is only applied to students that live on campus in the dorms. However, all the other sources of federal and institutional aid carry over with your student.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yes.
Tanya, what is the average amount of aid given?
The average amount, well, everyone's financial aid package is very, very different. So we don't necessarily have an average amount of financial aid. We can tell you the average that a student at Regis ends up paying out of pocket is approximately $30,000.
And that's over both semesters, right?
And that's over the course of an academic year.
Great. And I would also add to that, we talked earlier about the merit and that you're automatically evaluated for merit. Our merit awards specifically at Regis go from zero all the way, well, not zero, go from $7,000 all the way up to $28,000. And then we do have a series of additional scholarships that I mentioned earlier. So the Sloan School of Business Scholarship, for example, is a full tuition scholarship. The Regis Diverse Educators Scholarship is a full tuition scholarship. There's also the Alumni Scholarship and the Fung Foundation Award. So if you go onto our website, regiscollege.edu/scholarships, you're going to see descriptions as well as supplemental applications for those awards. We have a great question coming in, and I really appreciate it. It's from a family member or a student who is using the net price calculator and they're requiring SAT or ACT scores. So the net price calculator for institutions that utilize financial aid is a requirement by law. So any institution you go to, when you go to their financial aid website, you're going to see something called the net price calculator. And it allows you to enter your information and get a rough assessment of what a package could look like. Now, keep in mind, it's designed to be an estimate, and so it's not going to take into consideration maybe some other variances, and it's, again, an estimate. So if you're doing Regis's NPC and it asks for SAT scores, my recommendation would be to enter zeros, because we are SAT optional, so we're not going to use those in our net price calculator assessment. If you are filling that out for an institution that does use SAT scores for their evaluation, certainly talk to your student. If they've taken the SATs before, enter a previous score. The NPC is not used at Regis, and what you get from that is not used at Regis to generate your package. So when you fill that out, you will get a document that says what your net price looks like. But that's for your record. That's not something that we look at when we put together your package. When we put together your package, we're looking at the actual information that is submitted, whether that's through your application, which is that merit-based award, or through your FAFSA. So for Regis, you can enter zeros if you are prompted to enter SAT scores, or you can enter actual scores if you're just curious. For other institutions, I would certainly reach out to their particular financial aid office, because they may use SATs as part of their individual school calculation. You're very welcome. Happy to help. Okay, got more questions coming in. Hold on. Oh, great question. I have two students who are both going to be in college next year. How does that work? What does that mean? Do I do it for each of them?
Yes. So
great question.
Absolutely great question. Having two children in college can be very expensive, and the FAFSA actually takes that into account when they're creating your expected family contribution number. Whatever that number is, based on the expected family contribution number tells the government tells us how much they think a family can afford to pay for college. So if that number is 30,000, by having two children in college, that number gets cut in half to 15,000, which qualifies you for additional funding for each student. So then yes, each student must complete their own FAFSA. Each parent must sign each of the students' FAFSA, and that FAFSA gets shipped off to the different schools that the student has applied to.
Great, thank you. Another question for you, Tanya. When do I fill out my FAFSA?
Every year after October 1st, you'll fill out your FAFSA.
Great. And for those of you who are having your students apply to colleges right now, we encourage you to fill out your FAFSA while you're filling out your college applications. We have to render a decision before you can be awarded a package, but it's great to have your FAFSA ready and waiting. So if you are offered admission, we're able to package you that much quicker. So certainly you're welcome to start your FAFSA even while your college application is in process. For those of you that are applying right now, our EA deadline is November 15th. What that means is we're committed to have your decision out before the holiday season. If you apply before the 15th and your application is ready, do expect to hear back from admissions within 2 weeks. In financial aid, if everything's in place, you are actively packaging. Your financial aid turnaround could be variable depending on the status of your financial aid application. Are there things that are missing, or is there additional information, or is it straightforward? So just something to keep in mind, that timeline is always going to be a little different because the process is a little different too. When you fill out your FAFSA, Tanya, do you want to talk about the ICER and what an EFC is?
Sure. The expected family contribution number is the number that I mentioned. The government tells the school it's what they think you can afford to pay to come to college. So it's not necessarily the number that you're going to see show up on your tuition bill. It could be very different. It's just counting all of the assets, any trust funds, any homes or rental real estate that you may have, investments, everything, to come up with this number that they expect you to pay, that they think you could pay. Just so you know, the cost to attend Regis College this year is just a little over $62,000. So
yep. And that is before any financial aid is applied. And
That's
as
correct.
mentioned at the beginning, 100% of our incoming students last year received some type of financial aid. So
Yes.
if you're a student who, for example, let's say you're offered our highest tiered scholarship, you're going to have a $28,000 merit award, and you're a residential student, so you're getting a residential grant. We're already committing $31,000, or about 50% of your overall cost off before we even apply any additional aid. So it's a really beautiful thing. Great questions are coming in. How long are students given to make their decision as to which school they will attend once receiving their acceptance letter? I love that question. So the deposit deadline date at Regis College is May 1st if you are applying for fall admission. So if you are offered admission, we would want you to secure your spot on or before May 1st. Please note, some of our programs have very specific capacities. Our nursing program, our diagnostic sonography program, our nuclear med program, our dental hygiene program specifically have a capacity. So the possibility always exists that those programs could fill up before May 1st. As we start to receive deposits for those programs, and as those programs begin to fill, we will email students and give them those alerts. That's a type of thing, if your student's applying for one of those programs and is really concerned about capacity, please give us a call. Our admission officers love talking to their students. Call us, check in. Hey, is there still a spot in dental hygiene? I know there's only 12 spots in sonography. Are we there? Because some of those programs will fill and will go to wait list. So it's May 1st, and it is a $200 commuter deposit, $450 residential deposit into a question about capacity. So for the nursing program, we look to about 100 students every year in that program. And also, just as a plug for our nursing program, do keep your eye out for some additional virtual sessions coming up for our nursing program. Oh, great question. How do I add more than 10 schools to my FAFSA? I've already been accepted for more, because I've already been accepted to more than 10 schools, or am I only ever allowed to have 10? First of all, congratulations on your acceptances, and a great question. So I've added 10 schools to my FAFSA, Tanya, but I'm applying to an 11th. How do I add that 11th?
Okay, so you'd have to remove one of the schools from your FAFSA in order to add another school. Fortunately, the Department of Ed has limited the amount of schools that a student can add. You used to be able to add up to 20. So now if there's a school that you've determined is no longer suiting your interest, you've received their financial aid package, you don't think that they'll be one of your schools of choice, you can remove the school from your FAFSA and add a different one.
Great question. I'm scrolling through, Tanya, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Somebody is asking, oh, okay, I can answer this one. So you mentioned some of these other scholarship opportunities. Yep. And can you tell me more about those? Sure. So we have the Presidential Catholic Schools Scholarship. That is for students who are coming from Catholic schools throughout the United States, as well as Puerto Rico. And those scholarship details and criteria are on that webpage. The Regis Diverse Educator Scholarship Program, which are full tuition scholarships for students who are interested in the field of education. the Sloan Business School Scholarship. So that is for students entering into our School of Business and Communication. The Fung Scholars Program for students from Hong Kong or mainland China. We also have the Alumni Sponsor Award. So if you know somebody who is an alum of the institution, there's a process by which they can sponsor and nominate you for a renewable scholarship for $2,000 a year. Again, those scholarships are all outlined on our webpage. Those all have a January 1 deadline. So please do explore that page if you are eligible to apply for consideration for some of those. Keep a keen eye on those dates and deadlines, but those are supplemental materials that we need at the university. Not necessarily a financial aid question, but a great question. If I come to Regis, do I have to live on campus? You don't. You have the option to commute. We encourage students certainly to live on campus to experience that part of campus life, but commuter students are very much a part of our experience too, and very much engaged and involved in our community, but we do not mandate housing for our first year class. Our first year students do historically all live in the same residential building, which is pretty cool, but our commuter students are exceptionally involved and very much engaged as well. And then I think this is a great question, Tanya, to wrap up with. Do we offer payment plans on campus?
Absolutely. Regis partners with a third party called Nelnet, and they offer us a 10-month payment plan. Starts in July, and you're able to do it per semester as well, 5 months per each semester.
Great, thank you.
It's interest-free, just to add, with a one-time enrollment fee to sign up.
Thank you, Tanya. Oh, and a quick other question. Are books included in my financial aid award package?
It is not. We counsel our students to come prepared with money to pay for books. We estimate it could run anywhere from $200 to $500 per semester. Students are very savvy these days. There are options for renting books. There are options to purchase books from Amazon or half.com. So there's different ways of obtaining books that could save a lot of money.
Thank you, Tanya. Well, we would like to thank you for spending time with us on this beautiful Wednesday evening. On the screen are our email addresses, and please certainly send us an email if you have questions that we weren't able to get to tonight, or if you have additional questions. Tanya and her team's available, and my team is absolutely available as well. Well, thank you for that wonderful feedback. We are really grateful that you elected to spend this Wednesday evening with Regis, and we are here to answer your questions, and we hope that this was helpful. We know that financial aid can feel really overwhelming, and we know that sending a student through the search process can feel really overwhelming, and our goal is to make it less overwhelming. And we mean it sincerely when we say that we are here to help. We're here to help guide you and your student through this really exciting process. So we ask that you not feel overwhelmed, and instead you feel excited, because we're excited to work with you, and we're excited to work with your students, not just for the next few months, but for the next few years. So again, thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for your great questions and engagement. Please continue to stay well and be well, and we look forward to seeing and talking to you all again soon. Take good care, everybody.